Everybody, let's do a little chat about insurance. I know that a lot of us in private practice choose to not be paneled with insurance companies. And even if you choose to be paneled with insurance companies, it's near impossible to be paneled with all of them. And so we are all going to encounter that big company, whether or not we are paneled, that we are considered out-of-network therapists for. So what is different about being an out-of-network therapist? And we're going to put GFE aside for a second and just talk about how even if you've made the decision, I'm not going to take insurance or be paneled with this company, your client may still choose to involve the insurance company as a third party in the therapeutic relationship. And as much as you may want to avoid having to deal with insurance, it's unavoidable because clients have a right to get reimbursed for their services that they've been paying for out of pocket. And sometimes we've noticed that if the processes aren't in place for how you handle out-of-network insurance, that it can end up that clients don't complete treatment, they drop out due to the cost or the frustration for the lack of communication and clarity. And so we're bringing Barbara Griswold in next month, February 18th. I'm looking at the calendar just to make sure I get it right. And whether or not you can attend that live, if you sign up for that training, you can get the recording, and it's completely free. And she's going to be doing an hour training plus a 30-minute Q&A about all of your questions regarding out-of-network billing and how to be more successful with dealing with insurance companies so we eliminate some of the friction and the things that get in the way of people getting the kind of care that they so deeply need. And a lot of this just comes down to many of us, when we choose not to be on a panel, we don't know what is going to be expected of us if a client sends in a super bill or a CMS 1500. And so we don't have those processes in place. And maybe even sometimes we don't want to deal with it. So we put off things, or we're resistant to sending in the forms and things like that. And what Barbara is going to talk about are what are the steps that you can do to make this much more successful so that clients get reimbursed. It's easy for you and it's a benefit to the therapeutic relationship. Because when it comes to fees, it's more than a business transaction, right? It is a part of that therapeutic exchange, how we talk about money. All of our business planning is a way we care for that therapeutic relationship, saying, I've thought about this. I've put in a lot of effort into planning for you. And I'm not just going to whip you around and randomly do things. I have processes in place and I'm consistent in my boundaries. That is such a gift to give to our clients. And this is one of those areas I think a lot of us get kind of stuck in, because especially if you chose to be a full cash pay practice, it's like, I didn't want to deal with this. But there are things we can do to make it easier. And that's, I'm not a billing expert. And that's why we're paying to have Barbara come in and do this free training, because we've been seeing rumblings, with the GFE and all this. It's bringing up people's money stuff of how do I feel about the model I have and the panels I've chosen or not chosen to be on. And this is an issue, I think, that if we can lean in and figure out processes that make sense for our business, it's better for the client, it's better for us. It's, when clients have a better experience, they're more likely to refer, which means that reduces mental health stigma. I mean, these are ripple effects, something of like a simple choice of like out-of-network billing can impact a lot of aspects way beyond paperwork and time. It can impact our clients and the relationship that we have with them. So we'd love for you to come to that training. I'm wondering, does anyone have questions about what do they struggle with when it comes to paperwork and out-of-network benefits and all these kinds of things? It was funny because yesterday I had a conversation with my own therapist about giving me a super bill. And I've not done it before because my last insurance company wasn't great and I just didn't want to mess with it. But this year, I feel like maybe I should get some reimbursement. And so we were just talking about like what's their process for doing the billing and things like that. And I just brought up diagnosis right away, right? So like, all right, what's the diagnosis going to be on the paperwork? And I'm like, this is what I typically know that it's going to be, generalized anxiety disorder. And that's because I do have that, but with panic attack, but I haven't had those in a while. So we we're just like kind of talking about it. And these kind of conversations, they can seem like it's just part of what we do, business, but really there's something therapeutic happening here when I'm talking with them about like a diagnosis and something that I don't strongly identify with. Like I don't really need that label, but it's one of those like, this is what we have to do in order to get reimbursed in this system that we don't totally love or adhere to. And that's an interesting dynamic, isn't it? And how does that impact what comes up in the session and what we talk about? So there's a lot more to explore here than just, I don't want to take insurance and here's your super bill, because inevitably the insurance company may say, I want to see the notes. I want to see a treatment summary. And if you're going to give a super bill, you're kind of saying like, I'm admitting that I treat this person is disclosing that. And in order for them to get reimbursed, sometimes you're going to have to do extra steps. And if you do them well, it reduces the amount of paperwork. It reduces the amount of back and forth between you and an insurance company. And avoiding the issue and putting it off does not help anyone, right? It's not helping anybody. So we want to really make that process easier. One of the questions that people have is like, do I have to give a super bill? It's really a receipt. Yes, you need to give a receipt. But if you don't want to diagnose, the question is, then we get into some of the ethical dilemmas of, is it therapy? Like that's part of therapy in your state. You may have rules about diagnosis and things like that. And that's a whole other kind of conversation that comes into play here when we're looking at billing and those kinds of things. It's also important that you keep track of these communications with insurance companies. You have a filing system, things like that. Also, really exploring with your client, not out of a place of fear, but out of the process, setting them up for what could happen, what they may need. Are they comfortable with that? All of that. That's one of the things my therapist brought up to me yesterday. Now, they know that I'm a coach. They're like, that they may ask for notes and things like that. I was like, yeah, I know. Like a little less explanation needed on my part. But a lot of our clients just don't know what it means to involve insurance and what it can impact in terms of, qualifying for life insurance. Not that I agree with that, but this is the system that we're in. And it's this tension of how do I support my client in a system that I don't totally agree with or support and still help them financially be able to continue getting services and not let it impact their ability to experience transformation through therapy. So there's some intricacies there that I'm really looking forward to diving into. So click the link in our events if you're in our community. If you're watching this on social, I've posted links below. We would love to have you. And Barbara will do a lot of Q&A around all this billing stuff. It makes me want to just zone out, but we are going to go through it together, be present and learn. And I'm so thankful for people like Barbara who really are passionate and understand the importance of having really good processes so that we have better outcomes for our clients and we just reduce the stress for ourselves. Could we all agree that we need a little less stress? Yes. So let's take this off your plate as being a stressful item and get some support with change the way that you manage it in your practice for you and your clients. All right. It was good to see you all here. Thank you for joining me. We'll do these weekly. You can join us in our classroom or live on different social media platforms. Today I'm on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn. So shout out to my social peeps and shout out to our community members who are here. It's so good to see you. We're looking forward to continuing to support you. Check out our free trainings and we'll see you on the 18th. with Barbara. All right.